Hello folks, my name is Mark. This is Why I Hate the World. My people's, where you at? So we need to talk a little bit about Elon Musk. And I apologize in advance for subjecting you to this maniac. But we need to talk about it. We need to talk about him, and we need to talk about what's going on with DOGE because it's important. So this video that I'm about to show you here made the rounds a couple weeks ago, 5 or 6 days ago as of this recording. And it is Elon Musk in the president's office with his son. And this is what his son says to the president.
Democracy. This may seem like, well, aren't we in a democracy?
Let's watch it one more time.
Democracy. This may seem...
You're not the president. You need to go away. And just look at the sheepish look on Donald Trump's face. One more time.
Seem like, well, aren't we in a democracy? To restore democracy. This may seem like, well,
So what is this all about? Well, first off, little kids like this don't say stuff like that unless somebody has coached them. Okay. Somebody told that kid that Donald Trump is not the real president. You know, how old is he? 4? 3 even? I mean, that's a teeny tiny kid. He's got no idea what's going on in politics and shit like that. He's just a kid. Somebody told him, oh, we're going to the president's office, but he's not the real president. Your daddy is the real president. That's what somebody told him. And the person who told him that most likely was Elon Musk. All right. So that's what's going on here. And Donald Trump just looked like he ignored it, but he heard what the kid said. And he's no doubt has seen that video as well. And it's probably getting under his skin a little bit. But what is that all about? Why did Elon Musk's son say that to Donald Trump? In fact, why was Elon Musk and his son in Donald Trump's office in the first place? It's because of what Elon Musk is doing with DOGE. DOGE is the Department of Government Efficiency, which either is or isn't an actual government department. We can't actually tell. We don't really know because they're not really being clear about it, nor is the government actually being clear about who runs it, whether it actually is Elon Musk who runs it or isn't. I mean, chances are, yes, it actually is Elon Musk. They're just lying about whether or not he actually is in charge. But that's what they're saying. Apparently there was a court filing, and in court, the United States government said Elon Musk isn't actually in charge, but then Donald Trump gets up and says that he is in charge. So we don't actually know. And this is all by design, by the way, because it's, fascism. That's the reason why it's so obfuscated and stuff like that. It's because it's fascism, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. So what the hell are they actually doing? Well, DOGE is going through all of the government spending, all the government contracts, existing departments and programs, things like that, and essentially canceling stuff in opposition to the Constitution. Okay, so what everything DOGE is doing, it's 100% illegal. And in any other country, Elon Musk and probably Donald Trump would be in prison by now. Definitely Elon Musk. Donald Trump probably would have been impeached by now for doing this shit. Elon Musk should be in jail. And I'm not being hyperbolic about that. That's what would happen in any other country. If this happened in Canada or England or France or something, it would be the biggest scandal of all time. Donald Trump is getting away with it. Elon Musk is getting away with it. Why? Because they're Republicans. That's why. So what exactly are they doing? Okay. They're going through, they're canceling shit. They're getting rid of payments, stuff like that. They're laying people off, all this stuff. And you may think, well, why is that a big deal? See, because, most people in the country don't pay attention to politics, A very large number of people in this country don't pay attention to politics. So when you make it, when you say it to them, well, hey, the president should have the right to cut wasteful government spending or something like that. When you put it like that, then most people in the country go, yeah, because they think that the government is run like a corporation or whatever, that the president is like essentially the CEO, and in corporations, in your job or whatever, the guy who runs the place is the guy, the guy who owns it is the guy who runs the place, and your job is a dictatorship. And so they think that's how the government's run, and that's not how the government is run. We have a system of checks and balances. in the United States. The president is not a dictator. The president has very defined powers, very clearly defined powers that the other branches of the government are supposed to check to make sure that he doesn't go off the fucking rails like Donald Trump is. And one of those checks is that the executive branch is not allowed to actually create any laws. And you may think, well, that doesn't make any sense, right? If you didn't know, right? If you just didn't really pay attention in school and when civics came up and you don't know how the government works or something like that, it may not make any sense to you, but that's how it's set up. The executive branch cannot create law. The executive branch can only execute the laws that the legislative branch creates. That's because we live in a democratic republic. I mean, I would just say we live in a democracy, but we kind of don't anymore. Right? But still, on paper, we live in a democratic republic, and that's how it's supposed to fucking work. Congress makes the laws. Okay? The people you vote for directly go and make those laws. And then the executive branch, the president, is supposed to execute those laws. Now, sometimes there's disagreement as to what that law is and what it entails and what the president can do and can't do. And the people that figure that shit out is the judicial branch. And that's how the system of checks and balances work. Well, okay, that's fine and dandy. What does that have to do with Donald Trump and Elon Musk going through and cutting spending? Well, they're not allowed to, because it's not just spending. They're not just contracts. These are laws. See, when the government spends money, they have to pass a law. They have to pass a bill. Whether that's a budget bill or whether that's a, supplementary spending bill or one of these things that keeps the government running or whatever, because they're fighting over the bill, the budget, shit like that. Whether it's one of those things or whatever, that's a law. So when the government says, okay, we're allocating this much money to this program, that much money has to go to that program. That's the law. It has to go to that. So if they say, okay, we're spending $5 billion on this program in order to, I don't know, give fresh water to Tennessee or some shit like that, then that money has to be spent on that. It can't go anywhere else. Not without an additional supplemental bill getting passed that reallocates that. That's how it's supposed to work. That's how it has been working for decades and decades and decades. Right? That's how it's supposed to fuck work. I mean, conceivably, that's what the Constitution says. And the president is not allowed to just be like, you know what, fuck Tennessee, they're not getting fresh water, and then just cuts that program. No, that's not how that works. That's not legal. This is something that presidents have been trying to do for a long time, by the way. You may remember, any of you guys who are old enough to remember the fight way back in the 90s about the line item veto. It was a thing that George Bush the First wanted to get, the line item veto. That's basically what this is. And that's where you would go through a bill and you would say, okay, I crossed this part out and that part out and this part out, and the rest of it's fine. And then the president passes it. The president is not allowed to just go through a bill and pick and choose what he wants to fund and what he doesn't want to fund. That is illegal. And this is what's going on right here. This is what Elon Musk is doing through DOGE. He's just going through choosing what he wants to spend and what he doesn't want to spend. And this should not be allowed. He should be in prison for this. At the very least, he should be kicked out of government and all of his changes fucking reversed, because it's against the law. And Congress are the people that have to actually enforce this. Congress has to stop him. And Congress doesn't want to stop him because Congress is now dominated by Republicans. And these are the kinds of changes that the Republican Party has been wanting for a very long time. And the fact that they're going through and getting rid of all the shit that Republicans don't like is just icing on the cake to them. So they're happy about it. I mean, you're starting to see news stories here and there about different Republican senators and shit like that who are getting pissed because some of these cuts are starting to impact their constituents. You're not going to hear much about that, though, until the election comes. Then they're going to suddenly realize, holy shit, I'm going to lose my seat because of fucking Elon Musk. But this is why they're allowing it. They've basically capitulated this power to the president. And there's a name for this power. I can't remember exactly what it is, but there's a specific name for this. The fact that Congress has the power of the purse. And I could look it up right now, but I'm not going to because I'm lazy. But still, this is what's happening. So they're not going to stop them. So it's the only resistance to this so far has been people going and making lawsuits and stuff like that. Well, the courts take a long time. So even if some of these lawsuits wind through all the way through the court system, and even then, if the Supreme Court is actually honest about it and decides to not capitulate this power to Donald Trump and decides to reverse this, it's going to take months and months and months. And during all that time, these programs and departments that Elon Musk has defunded are going to be non-functional. And that's a giant fucking problem, because that basically means work is not getting done in the government. And people are going to suffer. I'm not going to do a recap of all the shit they've cut, because no doubt if you've been paying attention to the news, you kind of know what's happening. You know, they got rid of USAID, they got rid of the Department of Education, apparently has been slashed like a lot. And they're doing shit like they're cutting basically every DEI program you can find. They've like fired air traffic controls, just shit like that, just arbitrary cuts out of nowhere. You know, some things that they even screwed up. For example, apparently they fired a bunch of people who were in charge of keeping track and the maintenance of nuclear weapons. And then they like realized they screwed up, and then they like scrambled to hire these people back, but then they couldn't because they didn't have their contact information. Like just real shit like that. And here's the problem with it, right? Is that it's being done in this ham-fisted 20% off of the top kind of way. The same kind of way that Elon Musk basically laid everybody off of Twitter. That's what he's doing here. They're not thinking it through. At the very least, you would hope that they would at least go through all of the people and say, what does this guy do? Do we need him? What does that guy do? Do we need him? Because, yeah, you know, sometimes there's redundancy. Maybe there's too many people. Maybe there's a job that doesn't need to be done anymore. Maybe there's a job that, you know, why are there 3 people doing this job when 2 people can handle it? You know, there's all kinds of different ways you can trim the fat when it comes to stuff like this. But you need to be able to do it in such a way that it doesn't impact the populace. And that's not what's going on. They're not thinking it through. And that example with the nuclear weapons illustrates that perfectly well. If they're not even sitting down and bothering to look at what these people do, you know, imagine what all of the other departments, how many people are being lost there, what work's not going to get done there. And you got to remember, folks, this is what the Republicans want. The Republicans salivate over shit like this. The Republicans don't want the government to work. They want the government to be non-functional so that they can privatize it all. And that's what this is. This has been a plan of the Republican Party, not Donald Trump, not MAGA, not Elon Musk, the Republican Party. They've wanted to do this for a very, very long time. And now they're just going for it. They're just going for it. They realize, hey, we have the presidency, we have Congress, we have the Supreme Court. Nobody's there to stop us. We're just going to do it. And you know what? They're going to get away with it. I mean, ultimately, I don't trust the Supreme Court to stop these guys. What can stop them is the public. It's going to take at this point, right? Because Congress is not going to do shit. The Democrats don't have the ability to stop this. They don't. They can do lawsuits and shit like that. They can slow it down. They can try to repair the damage afterwards. But to stop it from happening, no. They don't have the power legislatively. They just don't have it. So what's going to stop it? It's going to be people rising up. It's going to have to be basically fucking civil disobedience and protesting. That's what's going to have to stop it. And in order to do this, of course, people need to get hurt, because people are not going to go out and protest in the street if nothing hurts them. That's just how it works in this country. You know, people don't go out and do the right thing just because it's the right thing. They protect themselves. No, especially when it comes to a country like ours where most people don't pay attention to politics. They'll have no idea what's happening until they get hurt personally. You're starting to see protests jump up all around the country. mostly in blue states, I might add. New York, Los Angeles, there's been a few in other places too, like New Mexico and that kind of thing. But it's not going to stop this. It's not going to stop this. And we're going to wake up and we're going to see that our government is highly dysfunctional. Everything's shitty. Everything sucks. And this is the exact plan because the Republican Party doesn't want there to be a government. They want to privatize all of this stuff. Like they're doing in Argentina. The same kind of thing. This is what they want to do. They want to privatize it. Keep in mind, your taxes are not going to go down. That I don't understand why, conservatives and Republicans and shit think that all of these are going to like lead to us getting money back. You're not getting money back. Taxes aren't going to go down. And there's still going to be a need for these services. So they're just going to privatize it. They're just going to take your money, and instead of having a government department that runs something that is accountable to our politicians, they're just going to like outsource it to a corporation. So you won't have an FDA anymore. They'll have a private company that does everything that the FDA does. And the difference is that they'll have a profit motive. So they'll cut corners. They'll basically take bribes. They'll put business interests over their own, and food in this country will not be safe anymore. And that's what it'll be with everything that the government does now. Everything from food safety to fucking airline safety, every other fucking thing that they do. It's all going to be privatized, and it's all going to suck, and it's all going to cost more, and it's all going to result in lower quality of life for everyone in this country. And that's the Republican wet dream. It's so that they can take your money and give you nothing back for it. That's the Republican wet dream right now. So you're starting to hear all kinds of bullshit coming out from Elon Musk and Donald Trump, all kinds of crazy, ridiculous claims that have no basis in fucking reality in order to defend this blatantly fucking illegal power grab that they're currently undertaking. One thing I heard from Donald Trump is that they uncovered $50 million being spent giving condoms to Gaza. Then Donald Trump got up and said it was $100 million because, Donald Trump can't even keep his own lies straight. So first he said it was $50 million being sent over for birth control, specifically condoms in Gaza. Then he said it was $100 million. Then he said it was $100 million going to Hamas for condoms, and they were making bombs out of them. Like, how the fuck do you make a bomb out of a condom? That's bullshit. Make a bomb, like a condom bomb? Like, what do you fill it with gunpowder and then like fuck it into your like enemy soldier? Is that what you do? Like, do you like put on the condom and then like put a grenade to it and then like fuck the other soldier in his ass and then the grenade goes up his ass and blows him up? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's the stupidest fucking thing ever. But Donald Trump says this shit, and the people eat it up because MAGA people are fucking morons. They're fucking deluded cult members. There is zero truth to that, by the way. Zero truth whatsoever. They did not spend fucking $50 million or whatever on fucking condoms for Hamas. Right? Not even true at all. So where did that claim even come from? There was a contractor that spent $50 million on hospital services, healthcare services in Gaza. That is helping people in Gaza with all of their medical issues that they may have, setting up hospitals and clinics and things. It had nothing to do with actual reproductive health specifically. They were not buying condoms for someone in Gaza. But you can kind of see it doesn't matter. That's where the lie comes from. They just make up this bullshit and they spread it around because they're Republicans. And Republicans don't give a fuck about the truth. Another one you may see is that they're saying Social Security. Yep, they've gone through Social Security. They're saying that there's 21 million people who are dead that are getting Social Security payments. And of course, this number gets exaggerated. Then Donald Trump says it's, 50 million. Then he says it's 100 million. Then Elon Musk gets up there and says, more people are getting, what did he say? He said something to the effect of, and I'm paraphrasing, something to the effect of there's like 100 some odd million people over the age of 100 who are getting Social Security payments, something like that. I can't remember the exact quote. This is all, of course, bullshit as well. 100 million people are not getting Social Security payments who are over the age of 100. That is just complete, total bullshit. There's zero truth to this whatsoever. The closest thing I could find was from the Social Security Administration, and on their website, which I'll put a link down in the didgeridoo or whatever the fuck you call that thing, they said that 18.9 million people over the age of 100 are in the system, in the Social Security system. Now, being in the Social Security system does not mean that these people are getting payments, because of those 18.9 million people over the age of 100, only 44,000 of them are actually receiving Social Security payments. Now, keep in mind, not all of those are fraudulent, because there is a chance that these people who, they very well may be alive. Keep in mind, right, this just means that these are people over the age of 100. This doesn't mean that they're dead. So some of these people may very well be alive. I mean, medical science is advancing. It very well could be that we have 44,000 people over the age of 100 in this country. And over the age of 100 doesn't mean 130 or 140 or something like that. Like, one of the lies that Elon Musk said is that there's a guy who's 135 years old getting Social Security. That was just bullshit. That wasn't true at all. There was zero fucking truth to that. But there very well may be thousands of people in this country who are like 100 or 101 or 102, something like that. We don't actually know how many people over the age of 100 there are in this country. We don't really actually know, because the census doesn't actually take that information. So that's just an estimate. So not all of those may be fraudulent. That's the other thing. But you see how they exaggerate. The actual number is 44,000. And they say that, 100 million people are doing it. You can't trust a goddamn word these people say. But if you go on TikTok, if you go on fucking Twitter and everywhere else, there's just a legion of fucking Trump followers and Musk stans or whatever who are falling over every single fucking word these morons say, because they don't care about the truth. There's all kinds of other bullshit that they're saying. One of them was that FEMA spent $57 million to house illegal aliens in luxury hotels in New York. That was bullshit. In real life, there was money that went to New York, but it wasn't part of FEMA's disaster relief program. Okay? And it wasn't spent housing illegal immigrants or whatever in luxury hotels. That was just made up fucking bullshit. There was another one saying that they spent $6 million on tourism in Egypt. That was bullshit. There was $6 million that went to helping them create transportation networks. So it wasn't having anything to do with tourism. He also said that some of the money from USAID, this is Elon Musk, said that some of the money from USAID went to create COVID-19, which is just a complete and total fucking lie. Right? Because COVID-19 was not created in a fucking lab. It's just total fucking bullshit. Elon Musk also claimed that $7 million from USAID went to studying magic. Not true. What actually happened was that $7 million went to a children's museum. And the name of the children's museum is Magic City. So you can kind of see where they're just making shit up. Making shit up completely out of fucking whole cloth, because they know that their followers don't care. They know that actually the Republican constituents don't care about the truth. They know that they're not going to get fact checked by their constituents, by their voters or whatever. They know that the media isn't going to do shit to stop this. They all watch Fox News or whatever, so they're not going to fucking do anything. They're just going to buy it hook, line, and sinker. They could basically say whatever kind of stupid bullshit they want. Seems to be fucking working. They seem to be getting away with it. So Elon Musk actually did create this website, DOGE.gov, and we're going to open this up. This is the Department of Government Efficiency Savings. And you can actually go through this list and you can see all of the things that they cut or whatever with the dollar amount. And they claim they've saved $55 billion. But this information doesn't actually seem to be completely 100% accurate either. So there's a line item in here from the Department of Homeland Security where they claim that they cut $8 billion and it turned out to be $8 million. Things like that. So there's lots of all these little mistakes and stuff like this. Some of these things you may say like, oh, why do they cut these? Because they have things like subscriptions in here. We're not going to actually go through this whole thing, but I'll put a link into it so that you can actually read it. They cut things like media subscriptions. And you'll see in there, it'll be like a subscription to Politico or something. And you may think to yourself, well, why the hell is my tax dollars going to pay for a subscription to Politico? That might, that's a waste of money. Cut that. Yeah, well, maybe. But at the same time, the people who are reading this are people who are working in the government, people who are working in the White House, stuff like that. And you would hope that you would want someone who works in the government to actually know what's going on in politics, wouldn't you say? And it kind of justifies it if you look at it like that. So you got to remember, right? The government doesn't provide all of the information it collects to everybody. That's not how it works. You don't just wake up in the government and saying, okay, here's all the info we got yesterday. No. It's a giant entity with multiple departments that don't always talk to each other the way that they should. A lot of what the people who work in the government depend on, they depend on the media, just like you and me, in order to keep themselves informed of what's happening. Well, if you work in the State Department or something like that, you might need to know what's going on in Europe, what's going on in China, what's going on in Japan, stuff like that, or even what's going on in this country, in different parts of this country, in different states. You may need to know these things if you say work in the State Department, if you say work for a regulatory agency, something like that. You may need to know these things in order to keep yourself informed so that you can make good decisions. So a subscription to Politico might actually be a good thing. It might be something that we want to keep up. And I mentioned this because that was one of the things that Trump and Musk pointed out. Why are we paying for Politico and all this other stuff? And then one of the things that, all of the fucking MAGA chuds then got up and said, Politico went out of business because they cut their subscriptions and that kind of thing. And it's like, well, no, it's kind of important. The same way that, for example, if you work in the FDA, then you should have subscriptions to different scientific journals because you need to know what's going on with science because you work in a field that's directly involving science. And this kind of goes back to another thing that Republicans hate, and this is experts. Especially when it comes to experts working for regulatory agencies, because Republicans don't want there to be regulatory agencies at all. So one of the things that Republicans have been doing, the GOP specifically, Republicans have been doing for a very long time, is trying to muddy those waters and trying to keep those experts out of the employ of the United States government. And trying to put their own people, trying to put industry people, shit like that. People who will put the interests of corporations and industry above that of the American people. And that's something they've been trying to do for a very, very long time. So getting rid of all of their information that the regulatory people need in order to remain subject matter experts on something, that's another step towards weakening them. Because if you don't know the latest science, let's say, for example, there's a chemical or something like that that's being manufactured and the latest science says that it causes cancer, that it's a carcinogen. If you don't know that, then you won't regulate it as such. And that's the whole fucking point. That one twisted my fucking panties there. That's been going on since as long as I can remember. I can remember articles in the fucking 1980s talking about that. Me, in grade school, doing fucking current event assignments and stuff. I remember reading about shit like this years ago when I was 10 years old. I'm not even fucking joking. The Republican war on the regulatory industries is something that's been going on since the fucking, at least probably before the Reagan administration, but at least since then. So you'll see a lot of shit like that. They cut all that stuff. They cut all of the DEI stuff. Basically, they cut everything that had the words DEI in it, regardless of what it is. So, you know something? If you're a non-white person, good luck getting a job with the government. Okay? Because that's what it basically means. When they get rid of all the DEI programs, it means black people don't apply. Gay people, trans people, Latinos, whatever. If you're just not white, don't try getting a job with the government because you probably won't get it. So they got rid of all of that shit. Go ahead and read through it for yourself if you want to, if you feel like it. But there's plenty of summaries of all of the shit they've cut and how they're not even accounting it the right way. Apparently, the kids that Elon Musk hired, they've never used COBOL before. There's really no need for me to go through every single little story. There's plenty of info out there. I'm pretty sure that anybody watching this video has been keeping abreast of this. But this is what's happening. This is what they're doing. And I just wanted to emphasize, my take on this. It's not Elon Musk. It's not Donald Trump. It's the Republican Party. The Republican Party. This is what they've been wanting to do forever. For decades, for as long as I can fucking remember, and probably longer than that. They've been wanting to dismantle the regulatory agencies, get rid of all of that, so they can bring us back to a time when corporations could just exploit people and pollute, and nobody could do anything about it. And that's what's gonna happen. This is what we're gonna see over the next 4 years, is that the government is going to be non-functional. And you're going to start seeing things like food recalls, product recalls. You're going to start seeing shit like this. You're going to see more things like plane crashes. We've already seen how many? There have been like 5 plane crashes in like 1 fucking month because they've fucked with the air traffic controllers. You remember that train derailment and there was that big ass fucking like chemical spill? Like you're going to see more shit like that. You're going to see rates of diseases start to spike. Things like cancer and like mumps and like fucking measles and shit. Like you're going to start seeing all of that start spiking. You're going to see things like fucking... you're going to see things like corporate mergers to the point where like mergers that would just be not fucking allowed before, to where you're going to have virtual monopolies. Prices are going to start going up. You're going to start seeing shit like that. Going to be the Wild West. It'll be a great time if you're a rich corporate oligarch. You're going to make a shitload of money if you are Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or Bill Gates or somebody like that. You're going to make a shitload of cash if you're one of those guys. If you're everybody else, life is going to get worse. And just get ready for it, folks, because we're not going to be able to stop it. It's too late. Here's what people don't get. If you're at the point where your only option is protesting, you already lost. So this is it. We're not going to be able to stop it. The best we can do is slow it down and use basically public backlash in order to curtail the worst of it. But it's still going to happen. And the only way that this gets reversed is when in 4 years Donald Trump leaves office. And the next president can undo all this. Because if he can do it with executive order, here's the other thing that people don't get. If he can do it with executive order, it can be reversed with executive order. Ideally, you want to have an actual law get passed through Congress. But that's not happening while Donald Trump is president. So just keep all of this stuff in mind, folks. The next fucking 4 years are going to be extremely shitty. And be careful. Be careful when you travel. Be careful about the food you eat. Be careful about your investments. Be careful about everything, because all of the guard dogs have been fired. And this is what fascism looks like. This is fascism. Anyway, folks, that's all I got. Stay cool, stay safe. I will talk to you all later. Adios.
Hello folks, if you like what I do and you want to support the channel, please consider buying something from my Etsy shop, supporting me on Patreon, liking and subscribing, and checking me out across my social media links listed below. Thank you all so much, and see you next time.